In the second installment of the Lifetime narrative series, esteemed jockey George HoSang recounts why he left Jamaica for Canada and his experiences on the international racing circuit. Recently serving as an ambassador for the Jamaica Thoroughbred Horsemen Association, HoSang's visit highlights the organization's commitment to supporting backstretch professionals in horse racing. The latest narrative segment features a candid HoSang, also reflecting on past injuries and celebrating the triumphant win aboard the Viceroy during the 1992 Superstakes. QuickGallopJHey.com, alongside its YouTube channel, The Quick Galloper, is honored to present the compelling saga of the legendary George HoSang.
You left Jamaica. Why did you leave Jamaica?
Oh, you want to go that road? That's a bitter story, man. Yeah.
No, I think our viewers and the Quick Galloper would love to know.
Okay, all right, Carl. Back in the early 70s, right? You know, the government changed and there was a different atmosphere. At the racetrack was no different. It was even worse because there's gambling involved, you know. The violence had erupted and a lot of people that I used to ride for, they were just disappearing. And when I asked about them, where are they gone? They've migrated. I mean, to me, as a young man, I'm now on top of the game. I don't want to leave this. I'm making a good living. And I've achieved what I wanted to do for my young days, from my young days. So anyway, as the months went on and I saw less and less of my business shrinking because Laurie Silveira had left, Michael Silveira left, Errol Lim, who was my main man, he migrated and they were just disappearing and the violence was starting to erupt at the racetrack because the gangs were there. I won't even call any name, but there were more than one set of gangs used to clash at the racetrack.
Okay, true.
And we have to run for our lives sometimes. And
okay.
then there was one set of guys who kidnapped me. I went into my car to leave the racetrack one Friday morning and I felt something touch me in the back, and when I turned around, a gun was in my face. They kidnapped me and they wanted me to set 3 races for them the next day. So get my cool head and I said, I agreed. I said, well, okay, meet me back here tomorrow morning and I'll let you know who are the 3 races that I set. But you can't follow me around while I'm doing this. So, and they said they agreed. So I just went home, grabbed my future wife standing over there, packed 2 suitcases and I was gone.
Where did you go?
I went to Miami for about 3 weeks. And then my heartstrings kept tugging at me to go back home.
So you left Jamaica, went to Miami, and then you came back to Jamaica.
Yes.
And you left again.
I started riding again,
yes.
But the violence didn't stop. You know, it was even getting worse.
Yeah.
And more my people that I was riding for were leaving. So I said, I went to Canada because Errol Lim and the 2 Silveira brothers, Michael and Laurie, they were already established in Canada. So that's where most of my business was. So that's why I chose Canada.
Which track did you go to first in Canada?
When I landed there, it was in August, and the racing was at Fort Erie.
Okay.
Which was the A meet as well.
Okay. What was the difference for you going to the small track in Canada as against riding in Jamaica?
Well, it was their small track, Fort Erie. Today it's a small track, but it was the A track at the time. And it was good racing. It was really good racing then. The money was the same, big money, and it's just what was a country track. Like they do in New York. They go to Saratoga. It's a middle of the summer track.
Okay.
So it was good, world-class racing there.
Can you, and you linked up with your Jamaican connection?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So do you remember your first win abroad?
Yeah, my first ride for Michael Silveira, a horse called Bambest.
Okay.
First ride, won. Something like 140 to 132 and something like that.
And then, how did you move now from Fort Erie to Woodbine?
To Woodbine.
Right.
Okay, they had 6 weeks of racing at Fort Erie.
Right.
So when I rode my first race, I didn't get in the ride until 2 days after. And I had two rides. They both won.
You both won?
The next day I had 3 rides. All 3 of them won.
What?
So I know I got their attention. I guess I got their attention. So when we went back to Woodbine, I was like, just kept going. But I was halfway through the season. So the amount of winners I accumulated was like 50-some winners in half a year.
That's good. That's good. You won the championship in 1979.
Yes.
And you won the championship again at Woodbine in
81.
81.
Yes.
Right. What was that feeling of accomplishment like for you?
Oh, it was very rewarding and satisfying for me because although I left Jamaica, which is my homeland, I figured this is where I could make a good living for my wife and my children. So I spent the first year there and experienced my first winter, unbeknownst to me that what this cold they were talking about felt like. So I was the first winter, the first big cold blast was somewhere end of November. Well, I found out I was crying.
It was so cold.
Yeah, and I didn't know I was crying. I
Okay.
just felt frozen water coming down my face. So anyway, what I was earning is made up for the cold. So I said, this is where I'm going to stay as long as I'm making a good living for my family. This is where I'm going to stick it out.
Woodbine is a big track.
Yes.
What was it like there, actually riding there, riding and winning?
At Woodbine? Oh yes, that is the heights of my career, riding there, because I had won. It didn't take too long to win a classic race, and I was winning stake races, getting on the better horses. But my base was the small guys.
Okay.
So for some reason, from the day I started, my base business was the little guys.
Okay. Have you ridden at any racetrack outside of Jamaica and Canada?
Oh yes, I was invited to England by reciprocation from Lester Piggott and Joe Mercer.
Okay.
And I spent a few weeks there in the summer, which was still cold. And they got me 2 mounts one day at Newmarket.
At Newmarket?
At Newmarket.
Coming down the straight?
Yes, straight away, yeah. I can't forget, the first race I rode was 26 horses, and they were all 2-year-olds.
Okay.
Right? So, it's just a straightaway, so nobody's bunching up to go around a turn.
Yeah.
But there's no rails either, right? Just this big open space, you could get lost. So I just followed the crowd, and then you have to finish on one side of the racetrack because they have a July track and an August track.
Yes,
So if you finish on the wrong side, you're disqualified. It was strange to me, but a great experience, and I thank all the people who arranged that for me. I think it was Jack Ashenheim.
Okay.
He used to accommodate Lester Piggott and Joe Mercer.
While they were in Jamaica?
In Jamaica, yeah.
What about the Caribbean? Apart from Jamaica, have you ridden in the Caribbean?
Yes, I rode in Puerto Rico, the Caribbean Classic.
Which horse was that?
That was Indian Flame. It was trained by Arthur Sharp at the time.
Yes.
That was the first time a Jamaican horse went to the Caribbean Classic.
Yeah, I remember Indian Flame losing the Governor's Cup to Philippides.
Philippides had 84 pounds and we had the grandstand on our backs.
Yeah, man. You had 140.
40, yes.
I remember the race. Ivan Lynn was the owner.
Yes.
Right.
That was when Larry Silvera says to me, George, weight will stop trains, much less horses. So when I'm riding for him, if I'm going with 1 pound overweight, I'm not riding that horse.
Okay.
That's why the Larry Silver.
Okay. But I remember you went to Venezuela once, and there's quite a unique story with you and Venezuela.
Yes.
Can you share that with us?
Yes, I hope to share that with you. I was invited to Venezuela because, again, reciprocation. We had Venezuelan riders come once in a while and ride at Caymanas Park.
When was that?
This was in the about 1974.
Okay.
Went there, and I was being taken care of by Millard Zadie.
Yes.
That's the uncle of Ralph Zadie.
Yeah.
He was a champion trainer there.
Yeah.
He greeted me with open arms. They raced on Saturdays and Sundays. He put me on 9 horses for the weekend. Unbeknownst to me, nobody speaks Spanish and nobody speaks English, and I didn't speak a word of Spanish.
Yeah.
And I think Millard forgot to tell me that there they don't tighten the girths there. The racetrack is elevated so high above sea level, the horses have a difficulty breathing. But I had no knowledge of that, so the girth is not tight. And in the race, the first race I rode, which was like one of the greatest 2-year-olds on the ground, came out of the gate, got to the turn, and I'm shifting weight to get into the turn, switching lead, and the saddle went right over. I was now under the bottom of the horse, fell off, horse stepped on my knee and lifted my kneecap. They scraped me up off the track and took me to the hospital, and my foot was in a sling. And I'm watching on the monitor. They have live racing at hospital everywhere.
So you're actually watching the races.
And watching 6 of the 9 horses that I was on winning. So I was, how hurtful is that? I come all this way and get the live mounts and drop on my head.
On the question of injuries, that was one, but there was another which basically ended your career.
Yes.
That was at Gulfstream.
No, that was at Hialeah racetrack.
Okay.
Yes, I was riding a first-time starter, a 2-year-old filly, that I've been on her in the mornings several times. She was beautiful. She kind of reminded me of Fairy Queen, the way she was sensible. But when I was loading into the starting gate, I was on number 3, and the number 2 horse reared up and started to rattle the gate. So she pulled back, and the gate handler was a green kid that with no experience, anchored her. When I said anchored her, I mean when a horse is pulled back, horsemen, veteran horsemen, they know how to go give and take. They go with the horse when they're pulling back, not just anchor them, because they'll go right over backwards if you fight too much. Well, that's what this kid did. And when I jumped off on the left side, naturally the horse gonna fall this way or that way. Well, the horse fell on top of me, and then she started thrashing to get up, and one of her hoofs caught me right here, and dislocated my jaw and busted up my jaw here. So this is what you're seeing here is not mine. It's a borrowed from someone.
Okay. All right, your racing career is over. George, is there anything that you would have done differently?
When I think back, yes, I rode in New York for a short stint when Caymanas Park closed racing when there was a hurricane that damaged the roof, and for a few months there was no racing. I wound up in New York, and I got connected with some good people, friends of friends. I was just close to Belmont track, and they loaned me a car to get around, and I did ride a few races, but then that connection, that naval string connection to Jamaica, when races started back, I just said, no, I'm a homeboy, and I went back to Jamaica. But I know in my heart, if I stuck it out there, I could have made it in New York.
Okay, so that is one of your regrets.
Yeah, yes, but I'm not, I thank God anyway that, you know, I came out of Woodbine, Canada with, you know, a good record and clean, immaculate status. And I still have the first dollar I ever made there.
Okay, the first dollar
I ever made there, yeah.
Okay.
I still have it.
Okay.
I still have it.
Okay. What do you think was the pinnacle of your career?
Pinnacle of my career is the 2 titles that I hold at Woodbine. I won 2 legs, 2 of the Triple Crown races, they call their Triple Crown races, which are the Queen's Plate, the Breeders' Cup, and the Breeders' Stakes, and the Prince of Wales Stakes.
Right, and you won 2 of them?
I won 2. The closest I got in the Queen's Plate was a 4th place.
Across the board now, across the board, taking Jamaica, Venezuela, England, New York, Gulfstream, Hialeah, Calder. What's the best horse you ever?
The best horse I ridden, you know, you probably wouldn't recognize his name, but it was a horse in Canada. His name was Kiboli, and he was like a well-bred horse. I won a big stake race with him. His name was Kiboli, and he was out of a Northern Dancer at the time. A line from Northern Dancer. And he came to Canada as a big horse because he's from America. And he shipped in, and the rider couldn't make it, so I filled in. But that horse was like a really, really good Kiboli.
Okay. Do you follow racing now?
Yes, I do. I follow Caymanas Park, which is now online, which is a great thing for racing for Caymanas Park, to be out there in the world.
Looking at the jockeys now, let us start with abroad. Is there any jockey that entices your attention right now?
Well, you know, as the younger generations come along, right now they're the Ortiz brothers, and they're like Luis Saez, who was connected earlier on with a Jamaican agent, Richard DePaz.
Right.
Which is when he really started to do good, was when Richard DePaz took his book. And there's Flavian Pratt from California.
Yeah.
Those guys catch my eyes. Well, they're doing good, but not that they were riding any better than generations before. Because you go far back as there were great riders back from whenever. You know,
Shoemaker and
the rest. Yeah.
Do you see any massive change in the quality of riding then and now?
Not so much in the States. They have been doing their thing very well for decades. But especially here in Jamaica, where these young guys, they're exposed to racing all over the world. Everybody has a smart TV at home. They can connect to races everywhere. And these younger fellas, they can see what good race riding is. Tight, good race riding mean when the gate open, me and you, we are friends. But they're not friends when the gate opens. We're enemies. Everybody wants to win. Not that I'm going to hurt you in the race, but I want to put you in a worse spot. I want to block you in. I want to put you on the rail, and I want you to get all that dirt kicked in your face. That's what riders, that's what we do. Because we want to win. And it's just something natural in here. When you want to win, that's it. Second doesn't count in our profession, right?
True.
Doesn't count. Win, or nothing.
What advice would you give to local riders based on the level of experience that you have achieved and the level of success that you have achieved over the years?
Okay. I would say to the young riders here, when they get going here and they feel like they're good in their saddle, they're now a horseman rider, they have their skills and they're ready, if they can get a chance to go abroad and experience in North America, you know, experience that feel of the racetracks, so many racetracks over the United States, like several. On a weekend, there's like 9, 10 different racetracks spread all over, and they're all world-class tracks. riders, they go into the jock's room. It's like a 5-star hotel. You know, everything is clockwork. You know, hey, you get in the paddock at the right time. The horses are on the track in 3 minutes. They're at the gate with 1 minute to go, and post time they're in the gate. And you are tardy, you're just gonna get fall by the wayside.
True.
So
What are you doing now, George?
me, I'm working harder than my whole life. I have 3 grandkids, right? They're just like 8 months, 2 years, and 7 years. And because I love them so much, it's the hardest work for me because they give me hell.
So do you love them more than Shelley?
Well, no, yes, because I can't find her anymore. She's helping out with the kids too. Because
Okay.
when I get tired, I hand her over to her, and then they run back to me, and I shove them back after her. So our lives are ruined now with our grandkids. But we love them so much, you know, I'll die for them.
Are you happy?
Very happy at this moment. You know, I guess this is what life is. When we get to this age, as you said, I'm 70-some. I'm not. I'm 69 still. I guess that's what life has to offer us, to grow with our grandkids. And I know some people don't because they're migrated away. They don't live with them or close to them. They see them once in a while. But I get a chance to see them most every day, or every day. This experience where I see myself in them.
Okay. George, one of the most remembered races in your career was the 1992 Superstakes, when you came back to Jamaica and rode the Viceroy for Philip Fiani against the top 3-year-old at the time, Milligram, with Winston Griffiths. Do you remember that race? And please take us through that race.
Clearly, Carl, I was contacted by Chris Harmon. I was riding it at Gulfstream Park, and he asked me to come down and ride the Viceroy in the Superstakes. So, being a good friend of Chris Harmon, I quickly accepted. When I arrived at Caymanas Park, I was told that Milligram was a reigning champion 3-year-old, and Viceroy is an old man with still some talent. When the gates open, knowing that I'm riding an old man, I put him in a position so he doesn't have to do too much work in the stretch, while keeping an eye on Milligram. So I was third down the backstretch, and just before I got to the 3-furlong pole, I put him to work, and he accelerated nicely, and he was in front, actually got to the lead at the head of the stretch, which is where I wanted him, because I know we didn't have age on our side. Just to hear the crowd start screaming, and I looked over my shoulder and I saw Milligram coming. So I said, old man, come on, let's go. And he just kept digging in and showed me his class and his guts, and that, as they were saying, age is just a number. That kicked in, and he fought off Milligram. It looked on the replay to me like Milligram actually passed him at one point in the stretch, and he dug in and he came out the victor. And I tell you, it was such a great race. I'm sorry that it was my good friend that owned the horse and rode the horse, Fana. But, you know, as they say in horse racing, the jockeys, winning is everything and second is nothing. But I was so happy and thank Philip Fiani for putting me on the horse, and the owners, and to Caymanas Park, who was so good greeting me when I got there. So it's a very memorable, iconic race, which I have with Fana. I have one with Bimbo, and I have one with Charlie. So I feel very good when I watch a replay and I wish I could do it again.
Thank you for watching another video produced by the team from QuickGallopJaya.com and its YouTube channel, The Quick Galloper. Please stay on the channel for other enlightening videos on those involved in local horse racing. Please like, subscribe, and press the notification bell.